Every woman thinks she knows how to test a man, but most tests only reveal what she wants, not who he really is. I've seen it more times than I can count. A woman meets a man who seems perfect. He's funny. He's confident. He says all the right things. He looks like he was made for her. And for a while, he plays the part perfectly. The dinners, the compliments, the late-night messages that make her feel seen. He tells her everything she's been waiting to hear, and she starts to believe. Maybe this time it's real. But then, life happens. Not the fun kind. The real kind, a bad week. A health scare. A hard conversation. And that's when the performance ends. Because charm shines in comfort. Character shows up in chaos. That's the moment she realizes she was never falling in love with a man. She was falling in love with a presentation. And that's what most people still get wrong about love. They think attraction is evidence of depth, but attraction is only a signal. It's not proof. Charm is like perfume. It smells good, but it fades fast. It's easy to admire someone who's at their best. It's much harder to recognize who they really are when life stops being convenient. And the truth is, most people don't want to test that part. They want the fantasy to last a little longer. Because testing means risking disappointment. It means facing the truth that maybe what you wanted to believe was never there to begin with. But here's what nobody tells you. The way a person behaves under comfort tells you nothing about their worth. Because comfort doesn't build character. Pressure does. That's why so many relationships look perfect at first. Because everyone can act right when they're being admired. Everyone can be patient when they're being praised. But remove the attention. Remove the ease. And you'll see who's real. You don't test a man by how he treats you when he wants you. You test him by how he behaves when he doesn't need to. That's the hidden truth no one wants to hear. Because when life gets inconvenient, when plans fall apart, when emotions get heavy, when you stop being easy to please, that's when the mask starts to slip. A man who's only driven by desire will disappear. A man driven by ego will argue. But a man with competence, he doesn't panic. He adjusts. Because competence isn't loud. It's steady. It's quiet. It's the calm presence that stays when everyone else runs. See, women have been told for decades to look for chemistry. But chemistry isn't connection. Chemistry is the spark. Connection is the oxygen that keeps it alive. And competence is the stability that keeps it safe. Charm gets attention. Competence earns trust. Most people confuse the two, because one feels good instantly. The other takes time to see. That's why modern love feels so fragile. We rush to feel something before we understand it. We want to be impressed, not supported. And when the illusion cracks, we call it betrayal. But it's not betrayal. It's revelation. He didn't change. You just finally saw the real version of him. Every man can impress you with words, but only a few can impress you with consistency. Charm is about control, competence is about calm, and calm is the foundation of trust. Because when the world shakes, when things stop working, you don't need someone who makes speeches. You need someone who makes things work again. That's the hidden test. Not how much he loves you when it's easy, but how much he steadies you when it's not. There's a moment in every relationship when life introduces pressure. It's not a warning. It's a revelation. It shows you whether this person has the emotional stability to stand beside you, or whether they'll crumble under the weight of your reality. That's why love isn't about finding perfection. It's about finding peace in imperfection. And peace is impossible without competence. You don't fall in love with the way someone looks at you. You fall in love with the way they handle you when you're not at your best. When you're tired, when you're hard to understand, because anyone can adore you in comfort. But it takes real strength to stay calm in your storm. And that strength, that quiet steadiness, that's what separates a man who performs love from a man who practices it. The truth is, you don't really know a man until you've seen him under pressure, because anyone can look put together when life is simple, when money is flowing, when things are going right. But when things fall apart, when plans fail, when disappointment hits, that's when you meet the real him. Competence isn't built in comfort. It's revealed in inconvenience. It's easy to show love when everything feels light, but real love lives in the wait. It's not in the flowers, or the dinner dates, or the pretty words. It's in the silence after the argument, the patience after the misunderstanding, the calm in the middle of chaos. That's where competence shows up, not in how loud he loves you, but in how quietly he handles what hurts. A competent man doesn't run from the storm. He studies it. He stabilizes it. He protects peace before he seeks comfort. And that kind of steadiness is rare, because most men today were taught to chase validation, not self-mastery. They learned to perform instead of prepare. They built their confidence on praise, not purpose. So when life stops praising them, they collapse. That's why competence matters. Because when everything else fades, looks, charm, chemistry, that's the only thing that keeps a relationship steady. Competence isn't about being perfect. It's about being predictable in the best way. It's the quiet promise that says, no matter what happens, I won't make it worse. That's the kind of man you can trust. Not the one who talks about being strong, but the one who stays grounded when things get heavy. You don't test a man by what he promises. You test him by what he maintains when no one's watching. Does he show up on time? Does he follow through? Does he take ownership when things go wrong? Or does he look for someone to blame? These moments may look small, but that's where integrity hides, in the habits that no one applauds. A competent man understands that leadership starts in the quiet. He doesn't need credit to do what's right. He doesn't chase applause. He chases alignment, and when life tests him, he doesn't respond with ego. He responds with order, because chaos doesn't scare him. It activates him. That's how you know a man has depth, when inconvenience doesn't make him defensive. It makes him decisive. He doesn't talk about solutions. He becomes one. That's the hidden test most people never see, because today, everyone's distracted by image. We value presentation over patience, appearance over action. We confuse loud confidence with quiet strength. But a man's worth has nothing to do with how good he looks in peace. It's how grounded he stays in pain. That's what separates the men who are charming from the men who are capable. Charm performs for attention. Competence performs for purpose. And purpose doesn't need an audience. You can always tell the difference when life gets hard. A charming man will disappear when he can't fix it. A competent man will stay, even when he can't solve it, because presence, not perfection, is what builds trust. That's what women actually remember, not the compliments, not the grand gestures, but the moments when they broke down and he didn't run, because that's when love becomes real, when words stop working and actions take over. And here's the irony. Most men don't realize that their worth isn't proven in what they can give. It's proven in what they can hold. Can you hold space for tension, for silence, for disappointment without collapsing? Because that's what competence looks like. A man's strength isn't in how loud he argues, but in how calmly he listens. Not in how quickly he wins, but in how gracefully he rebuilds. The world glorifies dominance, but real power is emotional composure. It's the ability to stay centered when everything around you loses balance. That's the man people trust. That's the man who earns respect without asking for it. Because respect isn't demanded. It's demonstrated in patience, in presence, in purpose. Competence is love expressed through discipline. It's what turns emotion into reliability. And reliability, that's the rarest form of love in the modern world. Anyone can make you feel wanted, but only a few can make you feel safe. And safety doesn't come from promises. It comes from patterns. That's the truth people don't want to face. Because patterns don't lie. They reveal everything words try to hide. A man's competence is visible long before commitment. In how he manages himself, how he speaks about others, how he treats the things he doesn't benefit from. That's what tells you who he is. Because no one becomes dependable overnight. Dependability is built in the daily decisions no one celebrates. It's a mindset. It's a standard. It's a quiet kind of honor. And when you meet a man like that, you'll know. Not because he tells you, but because his peace becomes contagious. You feel safer just being around him. That's competence. And competence is character revealed through consistency. Charm fades. Competence doesn't. Character, that's the final test. Not charm, not chemistry, not competence alone, but character, the core that keeps a man grounded when no one is watching. Because competence can build a life, but character keeps it honest. A man's character isn't seen when things go right. It's revealed when things fall apart. When the plans fail, when money gets tight, when pride gets tested, that's when you see who he really is. Some men fight to protect their ego. Others fight to protect their peace. And there's a big difference. Ego needs to win. Character needs to understand. Ego says, "I'm right." Character says, "Let's fix it." Ego reacts. Character responds. And that's what separates the boys from the men, the ability to stay calm. Not to stay in control. Because control is about fear. Calm is about faith. You can't fake character for long. It's written in the small moments, the tone of his voice when he's angry, the way he treats people who can't do anything for him, the integrity he keeps when no one's taking notes. That's the quiet truth most people miss. We fall for performance, but we live with patterns. Performance is exciting. Patterns are exhausting unless they're grounded in peace. Because peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's the presence of maturity. And maturity is knowing when to act. And when to simply listen. That's what women actually crave. Not perfection, but presence. The man who doesn't panic when life gets messy. The man who doesn't disappear when things get uncomfortable. The man who doesn't punish silence with withdrawal. He just stays. He stays steady. He stays consistent. He stays kind. And that's when you realize you don't fall in love with charm. You build trust with competence. And you build peace with character. Because love, without those three things, is just theater. It looks good. It feels good. But it doesn't last. You see, in a world full of noise, character is the quiet voice that says, "I've got you," even when it's not easy. That's the voice you remember. That's the one you trust. Most people chase butterflies, but the wise ones build foundations. Because one day, the excitement fades, and all that's left is the way someone makes you feel in the ordinary moments, in the pauses, in the tired nights, in the silence after an argument. That's where love either grows roots or rots away. A man of character doesn't need to be perfect. He just needs to be real. He doesn't need to say he'll never hurt you. He just needs to be the one who learns how to heal with you. Because relationships aren't destroyed by problems. They're destroyed by pride. And pride has taken down more homes than dishonesty ever could. That's why competence without humility becomes control. But competence with character becomes leadership. And leadership, real leadership, isn't about authority. It's about responsibility. It's about being accountable when things go wrong. And staying patient when things don't go your way. That's what a good man looks like. Not perfect. Not charming. Not dramatic, but consistent. He's not trying to impress you. He's trying to build something that lasts. He knows that love isn't fireworks. It's craftsmanship. It's 1,000 small decisions to stay grounded. To listen. To repair. To respect. And the woman who recognizes that, the one who stops chasing butterflies and starts appreciating builders, she wins. 2. Because she'll finally experience peace instead of performance, depth instead of drama, partnership instead of power struggles. That's when love matures. When both sides stop performing and start participating. Because real love isn't built on sparks. It's built on structure. And structure only exists when two people value growth over comfort, truth over pride, and peace over victory. That's the hidden test. Not who makes your heart race, but who makes your life steady. Not who says "I love you" the loudest, but who proves it the longest. Charm fades. Competence endures. Character remains. And that's the real hierarchy of love. If you're a man listening to this, remember this truth. Your worth isn't measured by how much you achieve, but by how you behave when achievement doesn't get noticed, And if you're a woman listening, remember this. 2. You don't need the man who shines the brightest. You need the man whose light stays on when the room gets dark. Because at the end of the day, it's not how a man makes you feel in the beginning that matters. It's how he makes you safe when the world stops pretending. That's what love was always meant to be. Not a performance, not perfection, just presence. And when you find that, you stop searching for magic. You start building meaning. Because, in the end, the true test of a man's worth isn't how he loves you when life is easy. It's how he protects peace when life gets hard. That's the kind of love that doesn't burn fast, it builds forever.